All right, good afternoon, everybody. So I'm standing here today with Chief of the Bureau of Counterterrorism, Chief DeVries, and Deputy Chief Papayuano. He's also the Deputy Chief from the Bureau of Counterterrorism. So basically, we're here today to talk about our preparation for the Democratic National Convention and to answer any questions that we may have about our preparation when we know what occurred in Butler, Pennsylvania. We want to make sure that we put certain things to rest, and we want to let everyone here know what we're doing in preparation. Now, as things unfold, obviously, as a police department, we look at intel, any intelligence that we have around any incident or possible incidents that could affect the safety of the city, the DNC, or the neighborhoods as a whole. We take that intel, we analyze it, we assess it, and if it's necessary, we'll make adjustments to our manpower, the needs, our deployments. That being said, I've said this over and over again. We have been preparing for this DNC since we found out that we were going to be the host city. We continue to do that throughout. And all of the incidents that could occur, we are accounting for those things. And we're making sure that we're training around those things. Now, can we train for every single possible thing that could absolutely happen? No, but what I will tell you is those things that we know, that those things that are predictable, they're also preventable. So we want to make sure that we train around those things. And with that, I'll take any questions that you may have.
Hi, Casey Cronus from Fox 32. Have you been in touch at all with Police Chief Jeffrey Norman in Milwaukee, maybe to kind of compare notes, talk about what they're doing and if they've expanded any perimeters or increased security? Have you been in touch with Milwaukee, given their response to the RNC in the wake of the assassination attempt?
Yes, but I've been in touch with Chief Norman prior to that. Because we're both host cities and we sort of border each other, we're in such close proximity, we're helping each other out. We're having these conversations because we want to understand best practices. We want to know what they're seeing there. We want to let them know what we're seeing here. And if there's any intel to share, we also will do that. What I will say is the conversations that I've had with Chief Norman have been fruitful. We've had great conversations around this, and we just had a very good conversation around the RNC that he's running right now. We had that conversation yesterday. So I think he's well aware of everything that's going on, and I think he's doing a great job out there.
Jose Gonzalez with Telemundo. Chief, two questions. First, how many additional officers will be working during the event, and also any message to the community?
When you say how many additional officers will be working, are you speaking for the DNC or the RNC? I'm sorry. The DNC. Well, we have additional officers coming in, up to 500 officers. So we do have officers who are coming in to help out. That's going to free up some of our officers who have the training, the field force training, to be out in the field. So it's going to be helpful to us. We want to make sure that we're protecting everything, all of the venues that we can protect, but we also want to make sure that we keep the city safe as a whole. So we also have to protect neighborhoods during that time. So this will help us free up our Chicago police officers to make sure that they're available to respond to any crimes that are happening outside of the DNC footprint.
Hey, hang on, please. Okay, I'll get you in a second.
Hi, Melody with Block Club Chicago. So I know that CPD has already been in the communities trying to let residents know what will be required of them to access their homes during the DNC that will be inside the security footprint. I'm curious, does the attempted assassination attempt change any of that? Will there be additional security measures added on to whatever CPD has already planned?
That's a good question, but let me just kind of put something in perspective there. What you saw that occurred in Pennsylvania was an outdoor event and something that obviously we had not been planning for a year. So the security measures that are in place, that we have in place currently to prevent those types of incidents from happening. So we've had nearly a year to plan for those things. Now, again, if we get any additional intel, if we see things where we know we need to make adjustments or we need additional manpower, we will make those adjustments as soon as possible. We are concerned about everyone in the city, especially those around that venue, and we're going to make sure that we do everything that we can to protect everyone.
Hi, Superintendent Jenna Barnes from WGN News. We're hearing in Pennsylvania reports of communication breakdowns between Secret Service and the local police there. Can you explain CPD's relationship to Secret Service with the DNC and how you prevent somebody from falling through the cracks?
Well, here's what I can tell you. I can't speak for the relationship between Pennsylvania and federal partners, but our relationship here with the Secret Service has been stellar. It's been 100% professional. Our communication is right on point. We are planning together. We meet. We have these conversations all the time. And I can tell you that the contact and the collaboration between not only the Secret Service but all of our federal partners around the planning of the DNC has been great, and we're just going to continue that throughout. Now, obviously, we see something like this that happens again. Once you see something like that happens, we can now start to plan for the possibility of something like that. That doesn't mean that we have not already been doing that. So we have been planning for these types of things, and I can say that our partnership with the Secret Service has been extremely strong.
Hi, Superintendent. This is Maria Berreyesa from Univision. We expect to see thousands of protesters. What kind of training are your officers receiving to just respond to any of those incidents?
All of our officers have gone through over 40 hours of field force training. So that our officers are being trained in platoons to deal with large-scale protests. Now, that training is rooted in the First Amendment and the Fourth Amendment, because those are the two most important things when we're dealing with large-scale protests. Number one, people's rights, their First Amendment rights to have their voices heard peacefully. And that's what we expect, that's what we hope. And we will allow people to do that. We'll allow allow for the locations for them to do that. And we will respect that as a police department, because we're here to protect your constitutional rights. At the same time, when we look at the Fourth Amendment, the possibility of civil unrest and how the officers are going to physically respond to that, where there are crimes being committed, there's vandalism, there's violence, those things that we are not going to tolerate. So that's also part of the training. Now, we're not training our officers to respond physically to individuals because we expect it to happen or that we even want that to happen, because we don't. If we don't have to physically engage with individuals who come here and just want to have their voices heard, that's a win for everybody. But we know that there's a strong possibility that that can happen, so we want to make sure that our officers are very well trained to respond to these things in the best way possible, and we're doing it constitutionally. And I will say this again, physical responses to violence and civil unrest on the part of those who come here with plans to damage the city, the reputation of the city, or to hurt people, the response is never going to be pretty, but it will be constitutional.
Superintendent Michelle Gallardo with ABC7. You know, before Saturday, of course, all of us had been focusing on, the police role surrounding all of the protests, what you were just talking about. But of course, this brings a lot more clarity to your role in terms of securing the entire soft perimeter. And now we're thinking more about rooftops and the venues where all of these other events from the DNC are going to be taking place. Can you talk about what you're doing, I don't know if there's, you know, are you looking at even increasing manpower? Or is there more attention being placed on rooftops and windows now that there was before Saturday? I mean, how are you able to, I guess, maybe break down those plans you had and see, are we doing everything already that we thought we could do, or is there more that we can?
We do that on a regular basis. We're constantly assessing and reassessing our training. We're constantly assessing and reassessing our plans. We're looking at everything. What I will tell you is the Secret Service has plans in place to deal with rooftops. I won't get into the details of that, but they communicate that well with us. And here's what I'll tell you. We get
the ones in the soft perimeter? I guess
the-
that's the clarity.
yes, yes. And what I will tell you is that we have dignitaries who come here all the time. We have presidential visits. We have visits from the vice president as well as the president. And this happens often. And our Bureau of Counterterrorism works very well with our federal partners in making sure that we coordinate that in a way, especially with the motorcade, to make sure that everyone is safe around that. And we do a great job of that. So there's always a heightened sense of awareness when we have dignitaries show up here in Chicago, and we're ready and prepared to deal with the possibility of anything happening here. So our SWAT team works very well with federal partners. And like I said, any intel we get, any information that we get, we'll be ready to work with that.
Hi there, Lauren Victory from CBS News Chicago. Kind of in line with Michelle's questioning, we think there's probably a couple hundred buildings around the McCormick Place and around United Center, several of which have rooftops, and understanding that Secret Service will be kind of leading the plans for coverage of those. But what do you tell, and has this plan changed? What do you tell private homeowners about their ability to access their own rooftops during the DNC?
Well, here's the thing about homeowners, right? You're really, as a agent of law enforcement, you're really going to have a hard time telling people that they can't access parts of their home. But we do have communication, and as we go throughout this, we'll continue to communicate more and more to the residents around the location, to the businesses, because that's going to be important moving throughout. Now, until we have the perimeter around the United Center or both the venues, until we have that information, which we'll be releasing, or the Secret Service will be releasing sometimes later on this month, we're going to message around that. So we'll be getting more and more messages out to residents and businesses around the venue.
Yeah, my question.
Oh, sorry. Yes, I have a question. Hi, Superintendent Snelling, Associated Press, Melissa Winder. Have you been directly in touch with the Secret Service since Butler? The Secret Service has said they're not changing their posture at the RNC in the wake of the shooting. Are they talking to you about any change in protocol for the DNC? And if so, what? And then my second question, I know you've been in touch with your counterparts in Milwaukee, and I wanted to know, in Milwaukee since Butler, and has any new details or any new concerns arisen from those conversations?
Okay, I'll answer that backwards. So first of all, let's start with Milwaukee. The conversations that I had out there, that I had with the chief, was just based around his concerns, my concerns, and just having the communication, and then offering any help if at all possible. He has a great handle on what's going on out there. He has had communications with all of the people he's needed to communicate with, and just having that conversation with him, I feel assured that that he's handling things out there the right way. I don't want to really talk much about what's going on because the chief there, Chief Norman, is in charge, and he's controlling the RNC out there. On this end, we're constantly in contact with the Secret Service about things that are going on. Now, one thing that we don't do here is second guess what the Secret Service's plans are, because we know that our coordination and collaboration with them has been great. Anything that we see here that we think are issues, we will take that to them. they're open for that information, and the same thing when they have concerns. And that type of collaboration gives me confidence that we're ready and prepared to deal with whatever comes to our city.
Everard Cassamy from NBC5. It's my turn, right?
I'm sorry, what's your?
Everard Cassamy
All right,
from
probably got you.
NBC5.
We got you.
I wanted to touch a little bit on the perimeters, but you mentioned that that's going to be released a little bit later. So just talking about the protests and piggybacking off of the other question there, when we have covered different protests that have happened around the city of Chicago, we have heard from people that are very upset and they want to make sure that they can protest as close to the United Center as possible, with or without permits. What do you want to say to those people that are planning those type of events?
Well, here, what I don't want to do is give any preemptive statements about what someone believes that they want to do or that they're going to do. Until the area around the location within Sight and Sound is released, it's hard to say what those groups are going to do because they will have the opportunity to go out and have their voices heard. Now, what I will say is this. We have seen protests pop up across this city without permits. We've seen it, and we've responded to those things. And the one thing that I cannot say enough about our Chief of Patrol, John Hine, and all of our officers in patrol who have responded to these protests that pop up. I think they've handled themselves, and I take that back. I know they've handled themselves very well, very professionally, and they've limited clashes with these protesters. And I really have to thank our Bureau of Counterterrorism for helping out with the intel surrounding those events. What I will say is this: our officers will continue to show up. They will continue to respect everyone's constitutional rights. And our officers will also show up if people show up to this city to damage the city, to destroy things, to commit acts of vandalism or violence. And our officers will be prepared for that also. Hopefully people just want to come here, have their voices heard. We can respect that, and we can work with those groups of people. I would rather work with groups of people to make sure that their constitutional rights are protected, their voices are heard. They came here, they did what they wanted to do, and then they leave peacefully. To me, that is the ultimate scenario. And that's what we're hoping for, and that's how our officers will respond. We will respond to protect people's rights. We will respond to protect the city. And we just want to make sure that we keep it as peaceful as we possibly can.
Yeah, hi, Miranda Davis, Bloomberg News. I think both Chicago and Milwaukee have talked a lot about the $75 million that they got in federal funding to assist with these conventions. Did Saturday, the shooting, did that change at all the need or the amount of resources that the city needs for this?
Wow, man, that's a loaded question. I can always ask for more money. No, what I will tell you is this. What we have and what the allocation that we got, we're appropriating that properly. Just to cover the needs of the city, to make sure that the city and the residents of this city is safe. Our planning around this is simply about safety. Safety for everyone in the city. So right now, I don't think this is the time to start looking at the need for more resources. This was an incident that occurred at a venue that was outdoors. And although we know all of our dignitaries will be indoors, we still have to protect everything that's on the outside. And we've been training for that. We've been preparing and planning around it, and we're going to continue to do that.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, everybody.